friends, Analia here. Today we're going to assemble my birthday cake gift card holder. What I love about this design is how incredibly versatile it is. It's so easy to customize with different colors and styles of paper for any birthday. This one I've made with pastel colors on a nice textured cardstock. This version I made with Star Dream paper and a matte foil for the cake plate at the bottom. It gives it a beautiful sparkle and some nice interest. Here's another version that I've made with a smooth cardstock. You can see how different each of these versions look, even though they're the same design. You can add your birthday message on the back with this optional back panel. If you're using textured cardstock for your card, I recommend cutting this on smooth just so that it's easier to write. And you can just tuck your gift card inside, and then the recipient pulls out on the candles, and there's your gift card. I'm going to start by showing you some tips and tricks for cutting this design successfully in both Cricut Design Space and in Silhouette Studio. So you can use the chapter markers in the video description below to jump to the section that you need. Let's get started. Okay, so I have Cricut Design Space open, and I'm going to click on Canvas in the upper left corner. And then I'm going to click on Upload in the bottom left, and then Upload Image. Now I'm going to drag my SVG file into the box here. You could also click on Browse and navigate to wherever you have the file saved. And then click Continue, and then Upload. Now for Cricut users, the most important thing that we want to do is make sure that our score lines that make the pocket on the cake base and the two lines that make the tabs that hold our gift card holder get attached to the correct pieces. So we're going to come over to our Layers panel, and I'm actually going to right click on our group here and say Ungroup. That gives us all of our pieces. And what we're looking for first will be our lavender colored insert for the gift card. So that's right over here. And if we click on the little arrow and open that up, we can see that that group is made out of the base and the two lines that make the tabs that hold onto the gift card. So I'm going to click on the top here. So all of those items in that group are selected, and then I'm going to come down to the bottom and click Attach. Now we want to scroll down our list to the very bottom, and we have the group for the cake base, which also has our score lines. If I click on that, open up the group by clicking on the little arrow, I can see I've got the base layer and my three sets of score lines, so our two sides and the one across. So that makes our pocket. Now if I have this selected, I can see that all of those are kind of a light green color. I know that all of those are selected, and then click Attach. So now that we have our score lines all attached to the correct pieces, we can go ahead and click Make. I'm going to say that I'm cutting on a mat, click Confirm, and then we can see how Cricut has laid out all of the pieces. Let's double check everything. We have our white back panel for our optional sentiment if we want to add that, depending on the texture and color that we're using for the cake base. Mat number 2 is the gray piece for our cake plate. Mat number 3 is the yellow for the flames on our candles. Mat number 4 is the vanilla color for our cake, and we can see that we have our score lines correctly placed on our base that makes the pocket. Mat number 5 is the mint for the green drippy icing. Mat number 6 is our dark purple stripies for our candles. And then mat number 7 is the lavender for the piped icing accents and our insert. And we can see we've got our tabs positioned correctly on the insert. So with all of that set up, we can grab our paper and our mat and then click continue. And then go ahead and send all of these through. So make sure that you start with the correct color and set your material. I'm using a medium cardstock, so I'll click that. And I have everything ready to go. So I will load up my mat and my machine and get all of my pieces cut, and I'll see you for the assembly. I have Silhouette Studio open here, and I'm going to go up to the right and click on Design. Now I'm going to drag in my SVG file onto the mat. I can see I have all of my pieces. The way that I like to work is move everything that I haven't cut to the left-hand side, move it over to the mat when I'm cutting it, and then put it on the right-hand side when I'm done so that I know that I've already cut it. So I'm going to go ahead and select everything and move it over to the left. So I'm going to click Control and A on my keyboard. That might be Command if you're a Mac person. You can also just click and drag to select everything if you're not a shortcut key person. And I'm going to drag everything over to the left so that it's out of my way and I can get everything organized how I'm going to cut it. I'm going to come over here to the right hand side. That very first menu on the top looks like a page icon, and open up my page setup. I'm going to click right here on the grid settings and make sure that I have show cut border enabled. You may already have this enabled. That gives us our red border around the edge so we know where we can place items as we're cutting them. In the page setup, I'm going to go back to the main page setup tab, and I'm going to make sure I have my machine picked. So I'm going to use my Cameo 5. I'm going to switch this and use my electrostatic mat. And then my media size is 12 by 12 because I'm going to use 12 by 12 cardstock. You can change that to letter if you're using a smaller sized cardstock. I can go ahead and close the page setup and get that out of the way. Now I'm going to drag over my cake base. So I've got our front and back pieces. We have the piece that makes the pocket. We can see that we have our score lines attached where we need them to be. And we can go ahead and send this to the Cameo. So I'm going to click on Send. And then make sure that I have my machine ready. Find the correct material. This is actually a heavier cardstock, so I'm going to click on Card, and I'm going to choose Textured because I'm going to have to cut that a little bit heavier. And then everything else looks good. I'm inside my cut borders. I'm going to go ahead and turn on my electrostatic mat and load that into the machine. And now I'm going to click Send. It has me double check that everything's loaded and then Send. Okay, now that that's cut, we can go back over to Design. I'm going to click and drag to select those two pieces, move them off to the right-hand side, and grab our purple pieces next, that light lavender. And you can arrange things however you want on your paper, especially if you're using paper that you've maybe already used for a different project and you need to organize things so that you're cutting where you actually still have paper. So I've got those lined up. That looks good, and I'm going to click Send and continue through this process until I have everything cut out. Let's move on to the assembly. So we have all of our pieces cut here. I've laid them out in roughly the order that we will assemble them. I also have my gift card. I've got the optional back piece for writing our sentiment that's cut on smooth cardstock instead of textured. I also have some Barely Art craft glue. I prefer glue for putting this together because it gives us a little bit of wiggle room to help line things up. I have a bone folder to help us get a nice crease to make the pocket for our gift card. I've also got some tweezers to help us with some of the small bits, and a vinyl weaving tool, which can be helpful for getting some of the glue that might squeeze out, especially with the little tiny pieces. The great thing about this craft glue is that it dries clear and it's really easy to clean up. I also have a thick stack of white cardstock set aside to help hold the pocket down while we let the glue dry. Anything with a bit of weight will work. We're going to start by scoring our cake base that makes the pocket. This is actually going to be the back of the card, and this is going to make the pocket inside that holds our gift card insert. So we've got a score line here, and then 2 score lines on the sides. I'm going to go ahead and fold this in half, and take my bone folder and give that a good crease. And then we're going to fold over our sides on the score line and give those a good crease. Now we're going to add glue to the flaps, and this is what's going to make the actual pocket inside of our card. And fold that over and give it a good press. There we have our little pocket. So we're going to set this aside to dry, and I'm going to go ahead and get that stack of white cardstock to sit on top and help hold it down. Now we're going to add our decorations to the front of the card. So we're going to decorate our cake. The first piece that we want to do is our little scallop that also lines up underneath the cake plate. This piece goes like this, with the scallops facing up, just right at the bottom. So let's flip this over and add our glue. And then we just want to line up our ends and use the glue to wiggle that into place for us. Next, we're going to take the gray piece for our cake plate and put this on the bottom. And we'll want to make sure that we line up our edges. There we go. Next, we're going to do the mint icing drip that goes right here. So I just want to line this up with the corners of the sides, and then flip that over and add our glue. Now we're just going to line up our edges. And make sure that we stick down our drips. Next, we're going to take the scalloped icing, and that just sits right on top of here where we've lined up our mint drip icing. And then we'll flip that over and add our glue. And then give that a good press. Now we're going to line up our mint icing for the middle tier. Again, we're just going to make sure that we line up our sides and along the top. And we can flip that over and add our glue. line it up and give it a good press. And the lavender icing is just going to sit right on top of this layer. Flip that over and add our glue. And then the icing for the top tier. Here we have our decorated cake front with drippy mint icing and lavender pipe accents. And we can set that aside. Now we're going to work on the candle insert that holds the gift card. So we've got our little candle pieces, and we're going to start by gluing our stripes of our candles down. This is where you may find tweezers handy if that's the way you like to craft with your small pieces. Now I'm just going to line this up and give that a good press, and then do the same for the other two candles. You could choose to do the candle stripes with vinyl because they are small pieces if that's your preference, but these do cut beautifully on both Cricut and Silhouette machines. Next, we're going to do our candle flames. So we'll go ahead and flip that over and add our glue. And our flame just overlaps the top of the candle stripe a little bit. Then we'll add our flames for the other two candles. There we have the insert for our card, so let's set that aside and we're going to go back to our base. Now we're going to put glue all over our base and stick our decorated cake front down on top. We want to make sure that we really glue down the sides and top well to make sure that the pocket where we're going to insert the gift card is really secure. A tape runner here along the top and sides might also be helpful. And we're going to line up the front, then flip it over and make sure we've got everything nice and aligned. And then I'm going to give this a good press. And then we're going to let this sit with that cardstock on top or something with a little weight to it for just a couple minutes to let that dry before we finish our assembly. I'm going to let this dry for a minute and then add the optional sentiment card to the back. Then I'm going to let that sit under the cardstock and dry some more. Now that this has had time to dry, we can get this ready to gift. I've glued the optional sentiment card onto the back, and I recommend writing your message on before you do this. Now, this is the light colored paper that I used, but because it's textured, I went ahead and added this with a smooth white cardstock. If you're using a smooth paper that's a light color for your cake base, you could choose not to do this. Or if you don't want to write a sentiment on the gift card holder itself, You could also choose to leave this off. And don't forget that you can use the sketch feature on your cutting machine to sketch your message onto the back before you cut it, so that it's all ready to go when you assemble. So I'm going to go ahead and take my gift card and put it into our little flaps here. This is a standard size gift card. I will note that a certain Seattle-based global coffee chain has gift cards that are slightly smaller, maybe by about 1/4 of an inch or less. So these tabs are a little bit long so that they'll be able to hold a slightly smaller gift card and allow for some variation in size. Now we just need to insert it into our pocket. So we want to look into the top of the card and see where our pocket is, and make sure we're getting it in between the folds of our flaps here. You can see that I want to make sure that we're not trying to put this in between the back piece and where we've glued the flaps down. And then we'll just gently slide this in. There we have our birthday cake gift card holder completely assembled. The recipient can just pull gently on the candles and slide the gift card out. And that's it. Your birthday cake gift card holder is ready to party. Thanks for crafting with me today. I can't wait to see you next time.